Hey, I'm Corey.
I'm Amanda.
We live at Rockpile, off-grid homestead.
We are 100% off-grid on 100 acres in the wheat belt of WA, and we are living our homesteading dream.
Aren't we?
Our Aussie homesteading dream.
Yes. And how did we get here?
There was a time where this was just a dream. We didn't think we would ever get here. It was just something that we thought was a nice idea. How would you ever do that? We just thought we'd be those people that would spend the rest of our life paying a mortgage and just working sun
up till sundown, paying a mortgage, living the life you thought you wanted to live.
Yeah, buying all the things.
Yep.
This is how did we get here, right?
Yeah. Should we start with that?
What steps did we take for us to realise our homesteading dream? I think the first most important thing was that shared vision.
Ah, yes.
Right?
And I really think that is like one of the key parts. To have your homesteading dream, you need to be both on board.
Yeah. If it's you and a partner, you both need to have that same end goal, especially if it's going to be a hard slog getting there.
Yeah.
Spoilers, this wasn't we decided we wanted to do it and turned around the next month and did it. This was
years in the making.
Years. I can't imagine how hard this would be if you had one person that really, really wanted this.
And the other person
was like, if they were like, oh yeah, that's all right, that's kind of your thing, I'll come along for the journey. It really has, because it's a lifestyle, you both have to be on board, and I'll just tell you that straight up. It's going to be painful if one of you is
And it's
reluctant.
not necessarily an easier lifestyle. There's a lot of ups and downs, and when the ups are good, they're good. But when there's a few downs, you need to pull together. You need each other to get you through some of those moments that are not so good.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you're sitting back at the end of the day and you've overcome that, it's like we did that as a team.
You know, even the worst day on our homestead is better than our best day.
Yeah.
Like before. Like you couldn't pay me enough to go back to our old life. So
honestly.
Yeah. If you really want this, go for it, because it is life-changing. So shared vision, commitment to each other through thick and thin, regardless of what happens. And because, all right, well, for us to get to where we wanted to go, we had to pretty much mould our whole life in that direction.
Towards that arrow, towards that light.
Yeah, because the first thing we realised we needed to do together that needed both of our commitment was take control of our finances.
What are you going to eat now?
Curious cows. The eternal question, is it tasty? Can I eat it? One of the things when we had that kind of shared vision and that mindset shift was we asked ourselves what would we be willing to sacrifice to get there, get to that end point.
Yeah. So what were we willing to give up, right? Our life consisted of working, paying bills, right? And buying stuff that we didn't really even need. So what were we willing to give up to get to that homestead dream at the end?
Because it felt like we couldn't earn enough to do what we wanted to do. We're like, what is the problem here? And we realised it wasn't how much we were earning. The problem was
how much we were spending.
Where our money was going. Yeah. Instead of trying to earn more, we know we needed to spend less. It sounds obvious when you put it like that. But when you're in the throes of just living your life as like someone who's been working and earning good income for decades, sometimes you don't stop and think about it.
Yeah, no, that's right. We found the most simplest way, go through our bank statements for several months and literally itemise everything that we spent, it was actually quite frightening when you add it up.
Getting in control of your money was part budgeting.
Yep.
Getting really honest.
Yeah.
Getting really honest with what you're spending, like you're both spending, right?
Like you might not want to, you may not want to talk about it, but it comes back to our first little bit. Like
The shared vision.
You need to have that vision, you know.
Yeah.
And if
you're not both on board, one person's just be going, nah, I don't want to give up this thing. So it was, you got to be brutally honest with yourself and with each other.
Yeah.
And so we set about doing a budget, and we did a zero-based budget, which is you track every dollar coming in and you track where every one of those dollars is going out. So every dollar has a job, basically, and we found that really useful. And it gave us that sense of control about our money again, because sometimes you can get into this trap of just spending stuff and not really paying attention to it. I think that's an important point, right? Is we weren't struggling. We had no problem with how we were living our life financially.
Yeah.
Like we didn't see what we were spending as an issue.
No.
We just knew that we had this dream we wanted to get to, and for some reason we couldn't do it with the income we were earning, and we wanted to know why.
Yep.
So one thing that came out of that was glaringly holding us back was all the little things we were paying out on debt, like a credit card payment, or I had like a computer on a computer loan.
Yep.
We were paying off phones. We were, I think there was like a car loan in there somewhere.
Yeah, I had a loan on my car.
There was like, we won't bore you with like the whole big list. But basically we're like, well, how do you pay off debt? And we did sometimes called like a domino or a snowball debt payoff. And basically that's what you do. You line up all your debts.
Every single one.
Every single one.
Right.
Right, smallest to largest. You pay the minimum on all of them, and starting from the smallest, you pay that off completely from your budget. Any extra money that you have. That you've found, you channel it into that smallest debt, and you wipe that out, and you go to the next one up.
Once that debt's wiped out, you take that payment you were paying on that debt, and you add it to the next debt.
Yep.
So you're essentially paying the same minimum repayments all the way through, but you've gotten rid of this debt.
Each successive debt you're
paying more on.
More into it.
If that makes sense.
And that's the idea of like the domino or the snowball.
Yeah.
Like you're building up this momentum.
Yeah.
And we found that really worked for us. It was very motivating, like knocking them out. It was like we had a list up on the wall. We had a whiteboard, and it was fun. Like just smashing out debts.
We were crossing them off, you know.
And like every time we knocked one of those off, that's like one less ding in our bank account every month.
Commitment together.
Oh,
because it's hard, right?
It's like a simple process, but it's like it's difficult emotionally.
Yeah.
Because you want stuff. But like we knew that this was like a temporary thing to help us get to our goal.
Yep.
And it kind of coincided with that big mindset shift that we had. That was like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Rejecting consumerism, like in ourselves, not just saying everybody else who's consumers sucks, but just going, how's that consumerism reflecting in us, and is it bringing us happiness? Realizing that instant gratification is not how we get to our long-term goals. Oh, birdies.
Little birdies.
And that like the long-term goals require short-term sacrifice, and really like it went a lot faster than I thought. Like I thought it would be...
Oh, once it got going.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Right, because then it become like a little bit of a thing, right? Like you'd go and stand in front of the whiteboard and you'd go...
Yeah, it became a game.
You know, gone.
And if you know you've only got like a couple of $100 to get rid of the next debt, you're not going to go out that weekend and spend a couple of $100 on a new tool.
It become a bit of a thing, didn't it? Like that was our new thing to spend money on. You know, it was like we can wipe this one out. This pay, we can get rid of that one debt.
And with the budget as well. Okay, this is tip. When you're doing like a zero-based budget, or when you're doing your first budget, give yourself space to like keep revisiting it, because you will be able to tighten up. Because your first budget, you were like, I can't make this any tighter than it is.
Yep.
But once you get further along in your kind of
journey,
in your kind of debt-free journey, you will find places where you don't need to be spending that money. You'll find that that subscription that you thought, nah, that's a non-negotiable. Suddenly, when you really want to hit that like debt payoff goal, suddenly not so important.
It takes a bit of time.
Yep.
But once you nail it, you'll be like, yep, I am in control of my money.
That was the most surprising thing. I think I avoided a budget for a long time because I felt like I didn't want a budget to tell me what to do.
You didn't really need a budget.
Didn't tell me what to do with my
just
money.
Like, we'll just go buy that.
I wouldn't let you tell me what to do with my money. I don't want a stupid budget telling me what to do with my money.
No, that's right.
But I thought having a budget would make me feel kind of restricted and annoyed, but it was the opposite. And just having this knowledge that like these random organizations and companies and people and like, you know, millionaires and billionaires don't have control over my money anymore.
Yep.
I do.
Yep.
I have control of my money, and that was a good feeling.
Yep.
And that's the thing, right? It gives you choices. It gives you options when you're the one that can decide where your money goes.
And also, it really increased the hope of our dream. You know?
I think that was a point where we're like, wait, this is
achievable.
This is something that could actually happen sometime in our future.
Yep.
Like, not 20 years' time.
Yep.
Once we realised that our dream was possible, we're like, how can we prepare ourselves to be ready for that? Like, what can we do where we're at to be ready when the time comes?
This is beautiful through here. This is where we would come and camp when we first bought the block.
We had many a night here in the swag. We did. It was lovely. And cold. It was so cold. This is like the lowest part of our block. And it was so cold.
So, Jess from Roots and Refuge Farm is famous for saying you can make your waiting room your classroom.
Exactly.
And like before we like kind of knew about that, that's exactly what we did.
Yep.
We were in this waiting period where we were paying off debt and kind of just, I don't know, bringing our dream together.
We were keen.
We were keen.
We were really keen, right, for this. And yeah, we started doing stuff.
You know? Okay, so we were 2 tradies, so we already knew how to build stuff.
Yep.
We had tools, we knew how to use them.
Yep.
We were lucky enough to already be on a small acreage, so we used that space as a way to learn how to like homestead.
Yeah.
The homesteading thing.
Yep.
Things like fencing, kept animals. So we had some chickens, we had
some
geese, sheep, ducks. We had some cows. So that gave us experience with managing animals and their needs.
Their requirements and you know, various things that they need along their journey. Because you can't just get, we're just going to get some cows and we'll just dump them there and forget about them.
I think that's what kind of taught us the importance of having proper infrastructure. Definitely proper fencing. When you have some dorpers that are determined to continue to get out, when you have cows that will just jump straight over fencing. Our next door neighbours had a pig who would always come and visit, so we learnt that pigs need good fencing.
That's
so
right.
from that little bit of experience, we knew that there's a risk of them getting out quite easily, because it wasn't like our neighbours weren't trying, but you know, pigs are
and he was
determined.
Friendly, BJ. He was a big
friendly.
pig, but friendly. Things like making little vegetable gardens, growing some basic
food,
some basic veg.
You did an aquaponics setup.
Did an aquaponics thing that worked really well.
I learnt how to preserve. I went and did a preserving.
You've done quite a few courses.
And
on various stuff.
So I learned how to preserve, and I started just learning things around that. I was already able to cook quite well, cook from scratch, but kind of doubled down on using kind of fresh seasonal ingredients. And this was all stuff that we could do within our budget in the place that we were at.
Anything that we could learn, and it was very YouTube based. Right, there was a lot of YouTube involved. To be honest, but
and we've told this story before. That's one of the reasons why we went on YouTube, because we learnt so much. During that time. About homesteading and what we can do. And another thing that that education helped do was helped with the motivation. Like it
Yes,
kept
definitely.
you immersed
Yep.
in it. It kept your eye on the goal.
Yep. We're committed to this, right?
Yeah.
We were committed from day one. We're paying off our debts, right? The debts are getting less and less and less. We're learning stuff, and the dream is like, it's so rapidly getting closer.
Yeah.
You know, like faster than we kind of imagined. Like we're doing this, you
Yeah.
know, like it's happening.
This was still us just chugging along on
Yep.
the strength of our shared vision and our dream and our desire, and just like the motivation and the
Yeah.
inspiration we could find in our daily lives. Doing what you can where you are.
Yep.
What you can with what you got where you are
Yep.
is always a good mantra. You don't have to wait until everything is perfect to go, oh, well, now I'm going to learn how to grow vegetables.
Because done is better than perfect.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Give it a go. What's the next chapter?
Well, once we're at the point where we're like, this is, this is the next step we're going to make. How do we afford to live here?
How do we afford to live here?
We talked about learning what you can where you're at.
Yep.
And part of that was when we saw that the dream could possibly be realised
be
within
achieved.
within a number of years, and we were thinking of different properties, like how far out could we go.
Yep.
I wanted to look for a way that I could earn an income remotely online without having to
Commute to work.
without having to leave the property,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
so planning out your income, like what that's going to look like on your property, on your homestead, is an important part of the process.
Yeah.
We were both tradies, and had to make that transition somehow. And part of that preparation time was getting training and experience in a completely different career. And I completely changed my career so we could afford to live this life and I could work from home. Part of what I did during that time before we came here was did some courses in copywriting and started like a little business, started freelancing, got experience, and now, like 5 years later, I'm, this is my job. I work, I do freelancing, but I also work for a company in Sydney doing copywriting, and it is, just a nice, secure kind of bit of income that helps support our homestead.
Definitely.
We kind of knew from the start that we didn't necessarily want to get straight onto our homestead and start trying to make money from it. One is because at that stage, I think we had already bought the land and we knew it was a vacant block. So once we got here, it would be a lot of hard work.
A lot of building infrastructure.
And a lot of time. So we couldn't launch straight into like a small business off your homestead, like, selling meat or eggs or any number of things that you might be able to do to support yourself from a small farm, for example. So planning your income for when you're on your homestead is important as well. We actually chose our property based on its proximity to a capital city in case we did want to commute. But once we got here, we didn't really want to leave it. Being aware of what skills you have that are transferable. So once you got here, you started finding work locally as well.
Yep.
So Corey wouldn't have to commute, and that was putting your property skills to work, doing like property management and gardening and building stuff and handyman stuff and
lifting heavy stuff.
lifting heavy things. So
That's kind of what I do. Look at possible other ways to make money.
Yeah.
Use your skills.
yeah,
Learn new skills, right? And
Yep.
put it into practice. And don't be scared, right? Like even if you got to make, you know, like a pay.
take a pay cut.
Yeah, like a pay cut, like a sacrifice. You go, oh, okay, I can, you know, I'm going to earn a couple $100 less if I do that. Well, yeah, but how much is it costing you to keep that original job, you know?
And that's where having control of your money gives you options and gives
Yeah.
you choices. It
Yeah.
gave us the option to live on a reduced income. The
Yeah.
skills we had enabled us to
Yeah.
live a simpler life that was less expensive. Not buying so much stuff, less expensive.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I chose the path I chose because I looked at the skills I had, what I enjoyed, and you know, just whittled it down from there and found something called copywriting and just went
with that.
all in.
Yeah.
Just went all in on that.
And this has
and now
enabled
it's my
us.
career.
It's a good career.
Yes.
Polaroids?
No?
The view behind us, you see, is the view that made us fall in love with rock pile.
And hopefully some of what we've said, you know, you may be able to relate to.
Or if it still feels like so far away, it might not be as far as you think.
Yeah. Yeah, once you start breaking it down. And I must say, there's probably a few things, or a lot of things that we may have left out. If you have any questions, drop the comments. We'll happily answer as best we can with like our knowledge and experience of how we got here. And are you cooking breakfast? Who's cooking breakfast?
Oh, I saw you cleaning the cast iron pans. I thought maybe you were
What
cooking
do you
breakfast.
want? Some bacon and egg rolls.
That sounds good.
All right, let's
All
go.
right. I'm
See
gonna
you
go
on
have
the
some
next-
breakfast.
Bye-bye. See you on the next one.
See ya.